Good morning, everyone. How we doing today? It's been long overdue coming out and doing another one of these, but I am finally here. Taking definitely a few more days than what was anticipated, but there is lots of good news and good stuff coming. But I just want to jump straight into it, really. So the previous podcasts I've been doing, I have deemed season 1. These are raw cuts, not really thought about too much prior, and they're just kind of about the journey, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, etc, etc. This is the first podcast that I'm going to deem season 2, and this is going to be more focused stuff, and as you can see at the name, I've been rebranded. Not another dad joke, where kind of I get to talk about me being a dad, what it's like, what experiences I've had, but not just that. It's a little bit of me. So things I'm enjoying, things I do. I can get guests in and stuff like that. But we're going to talk mainly about the dad stuff. So for episode 1, I thought, what better way to start than where it all began, really. So a couple of prerequisites that you need to know about me first before I get into this one. Number 1, I'm an emotional guy. Okay, my dad's side of the family, emotional people. Creates some very interesting times, but huge family full of love. So love you all. Good shout out to the fam. Right, where it all began. So I guess it all started when I met Kaz and got together. Right, I'm not going to go into all the details. I'm going to try and speed it up to get to a certain point of the story where I actually become a dad. But basically, when we first got together, she didn't want kids. I've always wanted kids. We had to take a step back to have a look and have a think about what we really wanted, and we almost broke up over it. We stayed together, and then one year on my birthday, we got chatting, and she brought up kids, and she said, maybe one day. And I was like, oh, maybe one day. You've never said that before. This is interesting. So on that day we made a deal, and the deal was that if she was ever ready, not to tell me. I know this is a bit of a possible controversial one, but not to tell me, and just come off contraception and we'll start trying, but I wouldn't know about it. And the only way I would know about it is if it had sort of been going on for a while and things weren't happening and we needed to maybe get some tests and stuff like that. So that was the deal. And then fast forward to not last September before, so September 2021, I decided to bite the bullet, propose. We were on holiday in Corfu, proposed, came home, and probably not even a week later, one day I came home from work. She calls me up to the bedroom. She's like, come up here, need to talk to you. Fine. And she sat on the bed, and I'm clueless. I'm like, everything all right? What's going on? She's like, no, come sit on the bed. And then, again, long story short, she passes me the pregnancy test that says that she's pregnant. And again, note to previous comment, emotional guy. Tears, instant tears, happy tears, and it turns out that basically she came off contraception just before the holiday, so it was quite nice that sort of I proposed and we got pregnant while we're on holiday. Happened very, very quick, very fortunate. I know it doesn't happen that quickly for others. We were very blessed. But yeah, so that's the story of how that all started. Now we're going to flip the script even further and talk about the day in which it all started. D-Day, the birth. Because this is a bit of a different story. Now, it had all the good intentions in the world. Another prerequisite that you need to know about is that my other half is a midwife. So she knows what she's talking about, and she knows what's going down when things happen during a pregnancy. So she's in the know, okay? You need to remember that. So the plan was to have a nice home birth. We had one of the inflatable pools, filled it up. It was going to be lovely. We had twinkly lights, aromatherapy stuff. Even I got to admit, it looked chill. I mean, obviously, if it wasn't for a birth, it would actually be quite a nice little relaxation pod. Put it all in the kitchen. It looked good. It was ready to rumble. And so I'm going to cut out most of these details and just stick to the big ones for me on the day. So it all kicks off. We're all ready to go. She's in the pool. At first, relaxing, chilling. It seems perfect. Seems like it's going to go exactly the way that she wanted it to go. Lovely jubbly. Couldn't be happier. Obviously, she's in pain. She's doing the pushes, doing some screams. Never nice for the guy to hear. Never nice, because there is literally nothing you can do. Literally nothing. Midwife shows up. Happy days. And I am gonna speed this up because I don't want to go into the messy details, but there are key ones I need to hit. So let's keep it on point. So basically, there was a little complication. My understanding of it now is that the little tinker decided to have a hand up by her head, which meant that it wasn't doing it properly, but also she was turned around the wrong way, and that was the issue, because they were like, we need to turn the baby, and there wasn't really anything they could do. Nothing really was. It was more, let's just see what happens. And I also have to be a bit careful, because the lovely midwives that did come are Kaz's friends and now my friends, and there is no negative feelings towards them about this day at all. I need to make that clear. But we've talked about this, so that they know. But anyway, so complication, turned baby was basically what we were dealing with at the time. Now, the next bit is that this kind of went on for like 3 hours, where she was being told not to push, because like the baby was turned and it wasn't right and stuff like that. So 3 hours of being told not to push. Now, she later describes it as just horrendous. Can't put it into words, but all your body wants to do is push, and you're trying to tell it no, trying to get your body to do the reverse while it's in that much pain. She said was unbelievable. Completely, yep, in agreement there. I'm not, yep. But what made it worse? Right, so number one, the gas and air ran out. So she ran out of gas and air. The midwives that were in attendance got hold of another midwife to come and deliver some more gas and air. So we were like, cool, fine. That took nearly 2 hours to arrive. So we were 2 hours no gas and air. And when this midwife arrived, she delivered 2 gas canisters, both of which were empty. And this is where it started bad. So we waited 2 hours for more gas and air to be delivered. The gas and air hadn't been checked and refilled the last time it was used, so they delivered 2 empty canisters of air. Shit. So loads of pain, already 2 hours without any pain relief. You think it's arrived, and then you're being told, actually no, there isn't any, you're gonna have to deal with it. I mean, I was angry. I still can't put myself fully in her shoes of what she was going through. And then the other bit of it was from the male perspective. There were times when the midwives went out into the hall and were whispering to each other. And there were times I kind of heard what they were saying, and there were times I couldn't. But, like, there was lots of sort of little head shaking and whispers. And I was just like, what is going on? Can someone just tell me what is going on? And I never got that information. I just wasn't informed fully, because there was obviously a complication, and obviously their main focus was her, which is great. And then the last bit, well, it's not the last bit, but the next bit was that, remember, she's a midwife, and she was screaming things like I'm gonna die, right? And you think, what? You know everything. You know what's going on inside your body. You know what the complications are, and you're saying that. Granted, you're in a lot of pain right now, but if you say that, that's what I think. Combined with midwives having whispers in the corridor, shaking heads, not communicating with me, I didn't have a clue. I was thinking worst case scenario. Obviously an ambulance was called. That took, I think, an hour and a half to arrive. And this whole time, like, the bit that got me as a guy, as a partner, was that she kept asking me to help her. And I've never felt so useless, utterly useless in my entire life. I just didn't know what to do, because like everything I was doing didn't help, and she was still saying help me. Not a clue what to do. The ambulance finally arrives, and we were struggling to get her standing. Eventually we managed to get her on the, I can't even think what it's called now, the trolley. It's not a trolley, the movable bed that goes in the back of an ambulance. Can't remember what it's called, but one of them. Gets on the ambulance. Now also, by this time, obviously the ambulance has arrived, the screaming has been loud, neighbours are hearing, so they're out on the street when we're going out. And I hold it together until she is put on that ambulance and the ambulance doors are shut. The second they are shut, I am so overwhelmed with everything that is going on. Bear in mind, I still have no answers. No one has still communicated with me. She's been saying this bad stuff is going to happen for ages. She's been shouting for me to help her for hours, and I haven't been able to do anything. No one's communicated to me, and now she's behind a door in an ambulance. I can't see her. I don't know what is going to happen at the hospital. Boom, I literally collapse on the street, floods of tears, like I'm talking biblical, like tears. And one of my neighbours is like, do you need to go to the hospital? I was like, yes. Do you need a lift? Yes. So he hopped in, he drove our car and drove me down there. Bless him, legend. Both my neighbours, legends, all of them, both the families, amazing. And then it kind of takes a very positive turn after that. So obviously nothing bad did happen in the end. We got there within 20 minutes of us arriving at the hospital. Baby was born. Gas and air was obviously available, so that definitely helped. The only other complication bit was her arm was up by her head, but all went fine. And we had a lovely, beautiful baby girl. And that is my day one experience of being a dad. So we've talked about having another. I have categorically said no to a home birth. I know they're good. She's an advocate for them because they can be so good for the women. I get all of that. But I'm a worst case scenario kind of guy sometimes, especially when the worst case scenario can be such a bad worst case scenario, you can't ignore it. And if something goes wrong and you need medical help, like real medical help, and you're an hour and a half away from getting an ambulance, plus travel time, you're 2+ hours away, like, the problem is that something can crop up like that you haven't anticipated, and suddenly you're in an emergency. It's too late. So if it happens again, we're in the hospital. Absolutely. Yes. So there you go. And that was my experience. It was just like, I know, like, obviously I've heard a lot of stories from her about sort of the births that she's delivered and stuff like that, and you do get a lot of guys who just do some stupid stuff in there, and you're like, why are you even here? Just go. Like, and unfortunately there are guys like that, the guys that want to try the gas and air because they think it's funny. It is funny. I didn't try it, because the last thing your other half wants is you pissing about with her gas and air when she's doing what she's doing, and you're like, meh. There are a lot of other stories of even stupider stuff that guys have done that she's told me about. Won't go into detail there, but like, I don't know if that's given the overall kind of with midwives that they don't necessarily keep the guys in the loop as much. I don't know. I can only talk on experience. But for me, communication with the dad is key as well. Someone has to try and keep that level head, if you can keep a level head in that situation, but also be in the know, and needs to know everything properly and understand it, because if any decisions need to be made, like, you need to know. So that was, anyway, that was my experience. That was my first day being a dad, and it started off great, went horrific, and then became absolutely amazing again at the end. And we had a beautiful baby girl, and it was the happiest day of my life, considering that hours prior it felt like it was gonna be one of the worst days of my life, just due to some communication errors. But it's all ended up amazing. So there you go. That is the first podcast of season 2. How it all began, me being a dad. Right. Yeah. Oh, it's something I've always wanted, and I was just like, I remember the day I told my parents and my sister and her family. So my family know I've always wanted kids. They also know that Kaz originally didn't, and then was a bit not sure, maybe kind of thing. So it wasn't anything really expected. So we were going to go see my sister. Obviously we knew we were pregnant at this point. They live like 2.5 hours away, so we travelled down, and we'd sorted out to go to a restaurant for the evening. I think it was maybe to celebrate something else. It was like my sister was messaging like, oh yeah, well, let's get a bottle of wine to share, we'll celebrate, blah 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 blah. And then there was me going, yeah, but before we go out, like, I know we're not going to have a lot of time because we were running late. We should video chat mum and dad because it's been so long that we've all been there. So we get there, force this video call onto the family, and and we're sort of just chatting, and I bring up the conversation of when we're going to next see my mum and dad. So my mum and dad live in Corfu. We don't always see them that much. And then I'm jokingly trying to convince them to come over to England, just like have a week here with us. So I'm going like, I think like June, July is looking really good. Maybe you should come over in June, July. And then it gets brushed over. We carry on the conversation. Then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, mum, dad, like, I really think you should come over in like July. It'll be really nice. What do you reckon? And it kind of gets breezed over. And then like the third time, I'm like, mum, dad, come on. You're not even willing to come over in July to meet your new grandchild. And everyone's like, what? Instantly, my sister, tears, remember, emotional family, tears. I think my mum and dad are both tearing up a little bit. I can't fully remember, but sister, yes, but happiness all round. There you go. All right, that was just a little mini story. Right, that is the end of the first podcast of season 2, where we go into actual scripted stuff, my experience, a bit more about being a dad, and other stuff as well. It's not just all going to be dad content, it's going to be me content, so to speak. So if you're interested and you enjoy what I'm chatting about, I know the first episode probably not the most like woo motivating, but experience lets you know kind of what to expect sometimes with stuff. Yes, engage with the content, let us know that you're out there and that you enjoy it, and I will put more and more effort in as soon as I can. But yeah, so season 1, raw, kind of unscripted rants, verbal vomits, brain thoughts, all that stuff. Season 2, actually on track with real kind of content stuff. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you and hear you and speak to you on the next one. Have a great day.